إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, today as I was walking through the musallis here, coming here to the minbar, it's clearly visible because of the half term we have many of our children here. So it's very important that we give guidance in Islamic guidance in issues that are going to face our youth, especially in the coming days. And one of the issues that we need to focus on is what is going on around us within the Department of Education, with all of these letters being sent around where direction is being given about the issue of Palestine and how our schools, whether in Waltham Forest, Redbridge and other boroughs, and how they're going to teach and educate our children on what is happening in Palestine and what has been happening in our history of Palestine. So I want to touch on this topic today, and right at the outset, we need to remember what's been happening in the Department of Education, in our schools, in concerning the Muslims and Islamophobia coming right from the top government to the Muslim community at large in the UK. So if the government is going to teach us about history when they are already biased against Muslims, we should understand that the history they're going to teach us is not going to be a balanced history or a balanced account, let alone the truth concerning history in general and specifically Muslim issues. So let me begin with an incident. It was the year 1099. The year 1099. Very important year. This is when the Crusaders of old, they came killing, massacring, and in the end coming all the way from Europe and taking over the blessed land, Jerusalem, Bayt al-Maqdis. After they captured Jerusalem, this incident where a scholar, a judge, in 1099, he comes into the court of the Khalifa, the Muslim leader at the time, Al-Mustadhir Billah. He comes into the court, and imagine the situation. Imagine you're witnessing like you would witness in a movie. There's this scholar dressed in a turban, simple clothes. In fact, his clothes had rips in them, very shabby, very dusty, because he had traveled a long way from Jerusalem itself to the court of the ruler, the Khalifa at the time, Al-Mustadhir Billah. So he comes in. And with him, he's not alone. He comes in with a bunch of people. And these people have blood stains on their clothes. Their clothes are ripped. They have patches. They're very dusty and come on this journey from Jerusalem all the way to the court of the Khalifa. And he comes in. And the Khalifa is sitting on a huge throne. The court that he enters is full of people dressed in the best of clothing, the richest of clothing. You look around, you have the best of food in big trays. You have the whole place decorated. It's a court of the Khalifa, of the ruler. So he comes in. And in those days, you wouldn't take off your hat. You would always have your head covered. So the first thing he does when he comes in, before speaking, he takes off his turban and he puts it down. This is a sign of the ultimate level of humility. So he comes in like this and he takes off his turban and he puts it down. And then he addresses the Khalifa. This is a simple judge, a scholar. And this is the Khalifa, the leader of an empire. And then he starts. How dare you sit in this luxury, enjoying the finest of food, wearing the best of clothes, enjoying every good thing of this life, when our brothers and sisters are being massacred in the blessed land, and the Crusaders are coming and abusing every single one of them. How dare you? And he continues in this huge, loud voice and tone until the heads drop as if in their seated positions they are as if they are in sujood out of humiliation. The Crusaders had come all the way from Europe through the Muslim lands, one by one, not being stopped until they reached Jerusalem itself and conquered it. And the Muslims were huge in number at the time. The Khilafah was present, the Muslim empire was present, yet they had not been stopped until they came into Jerusalem itself, took it and killed, massacred 100,000 people in 1 week. 100,000. There were no missiles or weapons of mass destruction. None of the bombs that we have seen that they drop and they take out entire buildings and a few buildings in one go. No, that didn't happen. 100,000 Muslims being killed by the sword, one by one. More gruesome than anything you've seen on a movie. I want you to imagine the Muslims being tied up and waiting to be killed. That's what happened in that 1 week. The amount of killing and the blood, the stench of it, lasted for more than a year. That's what the Crusaders did to the people that were there at the time. And the Muslims had let them come all the way from Europe to Bayt al-Maqdis, to Jerusalem. After the speech that Abu Sa'ad al-Harawi, the judge, he gave to al-Mustadhir Billah, the Khalifa at the time, something was done. Something was done. Yet, it took another 90 years, roughly 90 years before the Muslims recaptured Jerusalem. And the main reason why it took so long was because the Muslims were disunited. The Muslims had their own territories and they were fighting each other rather than fighting the enemy that had come to slaughter them like this. They were fighting over territories. They were brothers in Islam. Let alone brothers in Islam, you had brothers from the same father. Two brothers, one in Halab, Aleppo, and the other in Damascus, fighting each other over the territory. This was the state of the Muslims at the time. So the sunnah of Allah was that you will never gain victory until you are united for the sake of Allah. You will never gain it. Allah told us many times in the Quran from them in Surah Al-Anfal, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا. Obey Allah and obey His Messenger. And do not dispute and fight one another. فَتَفْشَلُوا. So you lose. وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. And you lose your strength as well. you fail and you lose your strength. Have that obedience to Allah and His Messenger. Have that patience, because Allah is with the patient ones. They lost this principle in Islam. It's for me and my territory and my power. That's all they thought about. Now what happened in those 90 years? It took around 90 years until the great hero of Islam. And the children who are here, those of you who go to school, remember this name, read about this individual. And there's a 3-volume book in English about his life, about his times, what he did, the process he went through before he reclaimed Jerusalem. His name is Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, rahimahullah ta'ala. He didn't come out of nowhere. He was a kid. And his name was actually Yusuf. He was a kid at the age of around 18, he was spotted by his mentor. 18 he was. 18. And his mentor, Nuruddin al-Zenki, he spotted him. He saw something special in him. So he put him through a process of learning, education, nurturing. And he put him through military skills, Islamic skills, his skills in politics, skills in every field, until he became this huge leader of Islam, such that Allah blessed him with the recapturing and reconquering of Jerusalem. About 90 years after it was taken with these massacres. Now, how did it begin? Because that's the most important thing. It wasn't because of military power. It was because of a man, Nuruddin al-Zenki. He had a vision. You know what got him up out of bed in the morning? It was one idea, one objective in his life. I am going to develop someone to reclaim and reconquer Jerusalem from those who have violated Islam and the Muslims and stolen it from us. That was his life. And he worked every day to build someone who'd get the job done. And you know what? He never even saw it happen in his life. Because he died, rahimahullah ta'ala, around 10 years before Salahuddin, rahimahullah, conquered Jerusalem. So sometimes we spend our lives building something and we don't get to see the fruit and the result. But Allah doesn't forget. Allah knows and Allah rewards. Do you think Allah forgot about him and didn't reward him? No way. Sometimes the toil and the trouble it takes is long. The journey is long. But the reward is there. Every step. And the victory is there. Allah's already promised it. So this is one thing we need to remember. Now after this, I want to focus a couple of points. And at the end of this, I want to remind you of this fact. Tomorrow at 6:30 in front of Ilford Town Hall, there's going to be a protest. And it's specifically for our youth who are at school and college. And it won't just be any old protest where you stand and you march, no. It will be a time where you will learn about the true history of what has been happening in Palestine. So as parents and as children, we need to be there so we can educate ourselves in the balanced history of what's happened. And let me just bullet point it for you so you have a general idea, especially my young brothers and sisters. What's happening over there, the occupation, it's not a Muslim versus Jew issue. It is not a Muslim versus Jew issue. What is it though? It is a Zionist apartheid regime who came to a land, who were placed there by the British, by our government. And then when they went there, And they were the refugees from Europe. And they were given this land by the British. When they went there, they used militia, bands of troops, armed. And they went to the people who lived there, the Palestinians, at gunpoint with the threat of murdering their whole families. They said, leave your houses, leave your properties, leave everything, or we're going to kill you. And they kicked out, in 1948, just in that year, they kicked out 1 million Palestinians from their homes, from their property, and they made them refugees. This is an illegal occupation under international law. Now just think about it. A people come to where you live, your home, your house, to your family, and they point guns at you, and they say, leave everything or we're going to kill you all. And those who didn't leave were killed. Those who left had nowhere to go. This is what the Palestinians have been living for more than 70 years. And even those, and especially those who are living in Gaza, where all of the bombardment happened, that is just a big open air prison. They are given no rights. They are abused in every way. The water is restricted from them. The electricity is restricted from them. They don't have the right to free movement. As a Jew coming to the Zionist state of Israel, if that Jew from anywhere in the world came to the Zionist state of Israel, because of its apartheid regime, that person would have more right to the land, the wealth, and movement in that place, Palestine, than any Palestinian who has lived there all his life. That's what's been going on throughout the history. That's just the snippet. But you know what's more important? The most important thing for us is, what are we going to do with our lives? Are we going to sit back and watch abuse and injustice that has been documented by the world? Are we going to do what the rest of the world is doing and turn a blind eye and just accept it? Or are we going to do whatever we legally possibly can to make a change and make a difference in our lives? And that's the most important thing. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Now our brothers are standing outside in the rain, so I want to keep it short. Sometimes we actually think we're a single person and we can't make too much of a difference. Once in our history, there are 4 great people who were sitting together around Al-Kaaba. 2 of them were the sons of Az-Zubayr, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Mus'ab and Urwa, radiyallahu anhum. And then you had another 2, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, and the third, another companion, the son of Umar ibn Khattab, Abdullah ibn Umar, radiyallahu anhum. And so, the first son of Az-Zubayr, he said to them all of you, state your wishes. What's your future aims? What do you want to achieve? So they said to him, you start. What do you want to achieve? He said, you know what? I want to have 2 wives. One of them, Sukayna ibn Hussein, ibn Ali, radiyallahu anhum. So his first wife, he wants to be related to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam through her, through the son of Ali radiyallahu an, al-Hussein. So he wants that wife to have the greatest lineage going back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he says the second wife, she has to be the wife Aisha bint Talha ibn Ubaidillah. And another wife, so he's related to another person who has been promised paradise by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he wants to have the emirship, he wants to be the leader of Iraq. the biggest city, the powerful city in Islam. So he wants that power so he can do something for the Muslims. So this was his dream that he told them about, and that's what he got. He got everything that he wished for in that city. Then the next one was his brother Urwa. His wish, he said, I want to be one of the great scholars that people come and they learn jurisprudence and hadith from me. Urwa ibn Zubayr, he becomes one of the 7 greatest jurists, and everyone comes to him to learn hadith. So he got what he wanted. Then the next one, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he says, I want to be the Khalifa, the leader of the Muslims. And that's exactly what happens. He becomes the Khalifa, not only him, his children after him all become the rulers of the Islamic empire. Then the last one, and the greatest of them, Abdullah ibn Umar, who saw and lived with the Prophet ﷺ and learned from the Prophet ﷺ, who was already a scholar by this time. He said, I only have one dream, that I enter Jannah. That's my only dream. That's what this world, I don't care about it. This was what they learned from the Prophet ﷺ. If you want something in this world, you only want it because it helps you get the highest status in Jannah. That's what they dreamed of. Now every single one of us should think, truly, what's my dream? What do I live for? What's the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning? What is it that I'm going to achieve in my life? Because you know what? When we talk about Jerusalem, it was one man, Salahuddin. He's the hero. He took it because he had a dream that was implanted in him by his mentor, Nuruddin Zenki. What's that dream that is in your heart that's going to make Allah pleased with you? If you don't have one, we need to develop it. And as parents, we need to put those dreams in the hearts of our children, because we're probably not going to see the fruits of victory. But it's already been promised, it's done, it's dusted. We are the ones who start that dream by planting ideas. The education system is about to plant seeds in the hearts of our children. Those are not seeds, those are actually great weeds to dismantle the truth that is being spread by the Muslims. What seeds are we going to plant, and what sacrifices are we going to make sure the weeds do not destroy the crop that we need to produce? So remember, there's a very beneficial protest outside Ilford Town Hall, 6:30 tomorrow, Saturday. Not where you will hear nothing, activities to teach our youth about the history they need to know, to develop our youth and to plant some of the seeds that we need to see the fruits of. So don't miss that opportunity. May Allah give us all tawfiq. May Allah protect us and our children. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين يا قوي يا عزيز. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وقوموا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.